How did I get into energy healing? Okay, I get this question all the time, and my usual answer is after a deep, painful, and scary shift in my life. I'm gonna try to make it short. It's a long story, but it started in 2016 when in January I started negotiation with my manager. I used to work for a large corporation as event manager and as a full-time employee, and I wanted to be transferred to the contractors department so I could have a more flexible schedule and visit my family in Brazil more often, because my mom at that time was 89 and her health was declining. So I wanted to help them to care for my mom. And I started this negotiation with my manager, and at the beginning she was very open to it. And in February, as every year we have our wish list, our New Year's resolution for 2016, I wanted to take Reiki classes for myself to help my mom, my family, personal. I never thought about opening a Reiki business. So in February, I took my Reiki classes, level 1 and level 2. And after I took the Reiki classes, and it's important for you to pay attention to the timeline that I'm gonna say, because at the end you're gonna be able to connect the dots. After I took the Reiki classes, I started noticing that everything in the company, my relationships, the negotiation, the interviews that I was doing to move from one department to another, everything was going wrong, and I couldn't understand why. So it felt like my manager was not understanding me anymore, like communication, misunderstandings, miscommunication. My peers, in the eyes of my manager and my peers, everything that I was doing was wrong. Honestly, I couldn't figure out at that specific moment. The only thing that I felt was the stress level moving up every single day, every week. And I never connect the dots. And you're gonna know what are the dots that I'm talking about. So time was passing and nothing was changing. And my mom was getting sick and sick. In April, I remember that I called my mom in Brazil and she didn't recognize my voice. And that was a very, very sad day for me, because she and I were very close and we used to talk every single day, best friends. And what happened is I was very sad on that day when she passed the phone to my brother because she couldn't connect who I was. Okay, so that was the mention. That was April. So I was here working and I started feeling really unhappy, frustrated, because I was not getting, this flexibility of working by project, so I could fly to Brazil and stay with her or help her. Okay, when we got into May, and I remember clearly, May 31st, I had this phone call with my manager. Well, at this point, between January and May, my stress level was up here. And when I had this conversation with her and I explained it to her again, how the situation in Brazil, my personal life, and how my personal life, my mom's health was affecting me, and I asked her, like, can I take some, like a week off or 2 weeks off? So I was trying to negotiating everything that I could. Okay, so that phone call was the last drop in a full cup. Okay, so when we hung up, I called my doctor's office because we hung up and I started crying. I was sobbing. And I had to find help. So I asked for a doctor's appointment. Next morning, I was in my doctor's office at 8 a.m. As I was sharing with my doctor what was going on in my life, I started crying. I couldn't control. And I cried for 3 hours in a row. So I had a nervous breakdown. And I lost touch with reality. My doctor had to see other patients in the next room because I couldn't stop crying. And I laugh now, but I'm gonna tell you, it was very scary. So as I lost touch with reality and I was by myself crying in that small office, I got to a point that I was very scared, and passed through my mind that I should call someone to ask for help, because I didn't know where I was and I didn't know what was going on with me. Sorry, I'm gonna get emotional. And I opened up my cell phone, and the first number that was there, it was my last call with a friend of mine. So I called her. When she answered, I said, I need help. Can you please help me? I'm here in this small room and I don't know what's going on. And then she said, where are you? And I said, I don't know. I don't know how I got here, but I'm here in this small room and I'm really scared. And then she said, is there a door? Can you run? And then I ran out of the doctor's office. And when I passed through the reception area, the nurse was there. She looked at me and she said, are you done with Dr. Cordner? And then I said, yes, I am. And I continued run. I disappeared. When I faced the parking lot, I noticed that I didn't know where I was. If I was driving, if I had a car, I didn't have any clue. The only thing that I remember is walking on the street. And since I didn't know in what direction to go, I sat on the curb. And then a few minutes, 5 minutes after, I started hearing voices, and I heard a woman's voice saying, have you seen a blonde lady in jeans, 5'6" tall or something? So she was describing me to people in the parking lot on the street, trying to find out where I was. And then she found me because there was a man that he pointed where I was and said, yes, I saw her, she's down there. I'm gonna get emotional again. Anyway, so she approached me very carefully and to a distance. And then she started like talking me through the idea of coming back. I was very scared. I was not to a point like to trust anyone, and I was scared like an animal. And she explained to me that I should go back because the doctor wanted to see me very quickly. And so as she was walking me through the idea of coming back, I kind of like relaxed, and then she extended her hand, and I felt comfortable in grabbing her hand and walking with her to the doctor's office. When I got there, I was again in that small room, and she put me back there, and she went to call the doctor. And in the meantime, the doctor comes and say, oh, I'm glad that you're here. Can you please just wait a little bit? And then she goes out of the room, and then my husband walks in. So my husband worked for this large corporation as well, and he was in a big meeting with all the executives of his company. He never left a meeting of that level to do anything. And then, but because I lost touch with reality and I had this nervous breakdown, I didn't know what was going on. The doctor saw, how difficult the situation was. So she called him, he came, and I was again scared in that small room. I didn't know what was about to happen to me. And he stepped into the room. He opens the door, step into the room, look at me, and he sees that I don't react. I look at him with big eyes and I was scared. I didn't know who he was. I saw a man with a business attire, but I didn't know if he was a doctor or not. So when he noticed that I didn't recognize him, he said, "You don't know who I am, do you?" And then this was the moment. And I'm gonna get emotional again. His voice, when his voice came into my ears and something happened in my brain. And that was the beauty of it, because at that moment, I knew who he was. So I stood up and I ran to him and I gave him such a strong, like I hugged him with all my strength. And at that moment, I felt safe. I felt secured. I knew where I was. And so then the doctors come in. That hug, I'm gonna tell you, that moment was unforgettable. Everything that I'm describing to you, it was told by someone else. Like the nurse told me the story, the doctor told me the story, my husband shared with me my reaction when he walked into the room, because if I don't have I don't have any memories of that. So the doctor came into the room, we had a conversation, and I was diagnosed with, I had a nervous breakdown due to work-related stress. So I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety. It was painful. It was painful. And after that, I was taken straight to a therapist on the same day in the afternoon. Doctor's office managed to find a therapist that could see me on that same day. And I was seeing a therapist every week, and then taking medication for depression and anxiety. And that was June 1st. Timeline, it's important. So on June 16, my mom passed away. Because of my mental health, emotional and mental health, I couldn't fly to Brazil to say goodbye. My doctor and my therapist didn't recommend me to go to Brazil. Actually, to be in a 12-hour flight, I could have a panic attack. And also being there and going through the grief could worsen my situation. Okay. So my doctor put me in medical leave for 30 days. And after the 30 days, I was evaluated and I couldn't come back to work. So that was a total of 3 months away from my corporate job, paid medical leave. So at the end of this 33 months, I had to make a decision if I wanted to go back to my job or not. And my doctor was checking with me every month to see how I was going. And one interesting thing is like, after I had while I was in treatment within these 3 months, one day I woke up and I heard a voice in my right ear saying, "You have a gift. From now on, you're gonna help people." And I said, "Oh my God, I think I am hallucinating," because that was the first time that I was hearing voices from spirit. Okay, so I, didn't pay attention to that, moved on with my treatment, and I started like going to my Reiki teacher to receive Reiki. I was healing. When I finished this 3 months of medical leave, I had to make a decision, and I talked to my husband, and I told him that I wanted to open my Reiki practice. And I made that decision because Reiki was healing me again. In 1996, that's when I first had contact with energy healing, and I was again in a very stressful job, and I had recovered from stress from this by receiving Reiki. So I decided to open my business. And everything, after I made this decision, everything started flowing. I found my niece helped me with website. A friend helped me with social media page, with Yelp, Google business page, everything that is included in opening a business. So everything started flowing. And since that day, I didn't have one day without a client. 1 year from June 2016, so in 2017, my practice was already, flowing. And I took vacation, and one day I had this very strong intuition telling me, stop and look back and see how different your life is today. When I stopped and looked back, I realized that everything that happened, it was to take me out of the comfort zone. So from the moment that I took the Reiki class, and from the moment that I decided to open my business, everything that happened, all the stress at work, all the misunderstanding, miscommunication, everything was orchestrated by the universe, by my spirit guides, because I had to find my life purpose. And that's the beauty of this whole thing. So yes, it was painful, it was scary, but this whole shift, now I know that was orchestrated for me to get out of the comfort zone and find my life purpose. I am deeply grateful, thankful for everyone in that company that made my life miserable because now I couldn't be happier. And if that whole thing never happened in my life, I probably today would be there, because it's very comfortable to receive a paycheck every 2 weeks. So I hope this story inspires you to follow your intuition, to believe that yes, there is a life purpose, and yes, you can find yours. I found mine. It was not an easy path, but I'm really, really deep thankful. I couldn't be happier. I love helping others heal. And I'm glad that I went through all this painful moment in my life, and I found my life purpose. So I hope you are in your path of finding your life purpose as well.